Hey guys, Tyler Ansman here with Tyler Ansman Performance. So today we're going to talk about recovery and stress consolidation. Alright, so recovery has become a more popular topic somewhat recently, with people kind of talking about it, but what does it actually mean and why is it actually important? So the first piece to kind of remember here is that in order to develop throwing velocity, sprinting speed, power, whatever, intensity has to be high. All right. So for context, to develop sprinting speed or throwing velocity, right, we're talking about 95% or greater of max velocity there. All right. So in order for that to happen, it means we have to be well recovered and ready to actually go that hard that day. If we can't reach those outputs, that stimulus is not as potent, right? So we don't get as good results as we otherwise would have had we run faster, thrown harder, jumped higher, whatever it might be, okay? So that's the first thing to remember. With stress consolidation, that just basically means that we're going to keep our hard days hard and our easy days easy. We want to kind of stay out of the middle whenever possible, all right? So, you want to throw hard, run fast, lift heavy on the same day, kind of as those things are appropriate for you. Okay? If the low days become too intense, right, our performance tanks. So if you're meant to have a recovery day and you go and do way too much in the gym and you're fatigued when you show up the next day and you're supposed to throw hard or run fast and you can't do those things, right, we're not getting the stimulus we need, so we're not adapting at the same level we otherwise could have, so our progress slows, all right? So when we hit a plateau, look to recovery and kind of make sure we're planning our stuff appropriately, all right? So we have a couple of different recovery options that can range from specific to general. So low intensity throwing would be the most specific recovery option. So on this day, we just need to stay below 75% of max velocity. All right. So that means we're probably going to have to use really heavily constrained throwing options for it to even look a little bit like throwing, or we're going to throw it really lightly and it's not really going to look the same as our other throwing options. Like that we might do. So it's not going to look like pitching, for example, when we're throwing at full effort versus 75% effort. All right? So if we're doing 75% effort toss with a partner, it might look completely different, and that's okay. We're still getting blood flow to the areas that we're looking for and that kind of thing, but we don't necessarily need to use that method. Another option might be extensive tempo. So this would be basically running at 75% or less of our max velocity. All right, so generally these are slightly longer distances, and one of the benefits of this can be for our athletes that need to be a little bit more elastic, bouncy, rhythmic, learn to relax, that kind of thing. This can be a really good option for them because it gives them a good amount of exposure to this, because our volumes can be kind of high there depending on what portion of the off-season period we're in, right? We might get up to 500 yards, 1,000 yards of extensive tempo, depending on who we're working with, what period of the offseason we're in, and what we've kind of built to in that period. And so that'll give them a lot of elastic exposures, all right? So that can be a really a big plus there. The other option is mobility circuits, all right? So we can use mobility drills that kind of target some of the deficiencies that a specific athlete might have, while keeping our heart rate in the range that we're looking for. Generally 110 to 140 BPM is kind of the range that we're looking to be in. You should be able to breathe through your nose the entire time and talk comfortably. The more we can do that, the more aerobic development we're getting, which kind of sounds like a dirty word in baseball given the opposition to running poles, which I think is fine. But we need to make sure that we're keeping it low enough, right? The problem becomes when we get too far out of that range, then we start to interfere with our recovery. Right? We get into the glycolytic range. We don't want to be there. We want to be in the super low aerobic range, all right? Sled drag, right? Going for a walk, going for a hike, these kinds of things. Again, we can be in the same kind of heart rate range and get the same adaptations we're looking for with these other means if we can make them kind of at the level that we're looking for. But again, they get more general as we go down that list. All right, then we have some passive options, right? These are just a couple: compression, stim, or complete rest. All right, so there's a good amount of research backing up compression garments and their usefulness and their effect on recovery. If you're interested on that, I have a whole article on my site about that. Stim has some interesting research behind it. Again, that's going to kind of depend on what type of stim you're using, because that'll vary, right? A 10 unit versus a Mark Pro is going to have a little bit different kind of results, effects, and specific kind of consequences for your recovery. So again, I have an article on that as well on the site, so you can check that out. And then complete rest, right? At least at some point throughout the week, we're going to need a complete rest from planned training. This doesn't mean you can't like get up off the couch, right? Go for a walk, do whatever you want. But we're looking for kind of that mental recovery as well from training. Get out of the training mindset, go hang out with friends, family, whatever. Kind of get a reset, be hungry for training again when you then come back to it. So don't be afraid of complete rest, and don't always feel like we need one of these recovery options, right? We can take some time away, and that may actually help our high intensity days be a little bit better. All right, so a very important thing to remember though is that if our sleep, nutrition, and our training load is inappropriate in any way, so like we're not sleeping enough, so generally, if you're sleeping less than about 8 hours a night, look there first. If you're not eating adequate calories, you're not eating nutrient-dense foods, you're not getting enough protein, in some cases if you're not getting enough carbs, kind of look in that direction first as well after sleep. And then if your training load is just out of control, no recovery modality is going to help you with that, right? Just do less in the gym, right? But here are some examples of what stress consolidation might look like on a high day. All right, so we do a mound velo session and then a max strength session in the gym, right? So we're consolidating that high stress. And again, this isn't appropriate, this can be scaled to whatever you need. So if we have a velocity deficient athlete, we may be doing a higher velocity session here, right? But again, it's a high CNS session is what we're looking for. That's what the high refers to, right? So this could be pull downs, this could be any number of things. And then low, right? We could be doing a recovery throwing session, so less than 75% of max velocity, and then a mobility circuit, and that's what a low day might look like. All right. So the really important thing to remember here is we want to keep our high days high, so we can have as potent a stimulus as possible, so we can push that adaptation as far as possible, and want our low days low, so we're not interfering with our high days. If we get stuck in that middle range too frequently and too close to our high days, we're going to cause problems and we're going to interfere with the desired adaptations. All right. If you got any questions, drop them in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. Check me out on website, tylerhansman.com, and Instagram and Twitter at Tyler_Hansman. Thanks for watching.